Tuesday, where every week we are going to be providing you with tools, tips, and resources for health coaches and professionals so that you can confidently solve your clients' health issues and grow your career as a health coach or professional. If you are ready to dig in, drop the word guide below, and we are going to send you FDN's 3-step guide to getting real results for you and your clients. I am your co-host, Piper Gibson, an FDN course counselor. You may recognize the man next to me. This is Reed Davis, founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. He is going to be co-hosting with me today and providing us with some amazing wisdom and education. So how are you today, Reed?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Doing good out here in Southern California where the weather is beautiful. A little chilly at night these days, but wonderful. Just been outside in the garden, working up a bit of a sweat, but I'm ready to roll.
Awesome. Well, you can't beat good weather. Well, we will get this show on the road and give these health coaches the tips that they need. And today, Reed is going to teach us how to break the cycle of trial and error. So tell us, Reed, what is your experience with the cycle of trial and error?
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's something I recognize people were in over 20 years ago. I started working in a clinic, and everybody that came in the door seemed to be stuck in that cycle, and I didn't call it that at the time, but I noticed that everyone had already been to 5 or 8 or 10 practitioners already. And I thought, hey, that sounds like a ripoff. You know, if someone has already been to 5 practitioners, why aren't you better yet? You know, I was new to the industry, and it really blew my mind. So I came from environmental law and healing the planet. And then in 1999, 20 years ago, switched my attention to what is it doing to people? What's the environment and what's going on with folks, including me? I didn't have any health problems, but I went after this thing very aggressively. Again, everyone walking in our clinic had already spent a lot of money and had just tried all these different things and weren't better yet. So very naively, of course. Hi, Chris. Hi, Elizabeth. And thanks for the happy Thanksgiving messages. I'm seeing those. And so everyone coming in had been to someone else. And that's when I started to identify the cycle of trial and error. And typically it started off, Piper, everybody started off with, hey, I went to my doctor and he did some blood work. And even though I feel really lousy and I got all these problems, he said nothing's wrong with me. So if you've ever seen that before, let us know. You know, you or someone you know has been to a doctor and were told nothing's wrong with you. And then on some of them, the doctor had said, oh, I noticed this is off a little or that's off a little, you know, cholesterol or blood pressure or something. And these could be important. But all they did is prescribe medication and really didn't deal with the problems the person was having. And that could just be what sounds vague at first, fatigue and feeling blue and a little overweight and, tired and not sleeping well and sex drive is gone or diminished and, can't build muscle, so it seems vague. The doctor is like, oh, go do some diet and exercise, and people have heard that before, and in some of those cases, the doctor might actually give a little medication, prescribe something. But what I notice in our field is that our consumers, our health seekers, they're a little bit too smart for that. They know something's wrong. They don't want to be told nothing's wrong. Your blood work looks fine. And if there is a little something off, they don't want to just be prescribed a drug. They want to be told, what can I do to change those numbers? Those numbers aren't what's wrong with me. Those numbers are a reflection of something going on that maybe I could improve. If you teach me what to do, then maybe I could improve it. So that's where the beginning of the cycle starts. Does that sound good to you?
Absolutely.
Have you had any clients like that?
I've had plenty of clients like that. And, we really got into this because we were having these issues with my son. He's normal. He'll grow out of it. Everything's fine. But things just progressively got worse. So yes, absolutely understand the cycle of trial and error. Absolutely. So What do you think health coaches struggle with the most when it comes to the cycle of trial and error?
Well, I think for one thing, they're trying to intervene on that specific problem. So, intervention is not what health coaches should be doing. They should be taking the broadest view possible of everything that could be influencing that person's health, and then doing something about that, or teaching the client what to do, how to create an epigenetic program. It's the epigenetic influences that matter most. And so the first thing I think health coaches are doing wrong is saying, when they hear a cluster of symptoms, like let's say the client says, well, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I gain weight, I can't lose it, I feel sad, I'm constipated, and my extremities are tingling or maybe cold, and my hair's thinning. A lot of health coaches, they're pretty well trained, and they're going to say, well, that sounds like thyroid. And then they might even, and it does, it sounds like thyroid, low metabolism and things like that will produce that kind of symptoms. And so then they might even test the thyroid. Health coaches today can get a hold of lab work and things. I teach a course in functional lab work, so I know this. And then they'll go, yep, pat myself on the back, found your problem, low thyroid, so here's some things you can do. And there are nutritional deficiencies that might contribute to it. It could be worse and be a medical problem, but for the most part, they're going to sell supplements and things, tyrosine, and make sure the person's eating, some seaweed or something to make sure they're getting their iodine and some general recommendations on. Now, you might actually improve thyroid function a teeny tiny bit and relieve some of the symptoms. But that, as I said, is the mistake. So even though you've helped that person feel a little bit better, either the problem's going to come back, sometimes with a vengeance, or new symptoms will appear. And so that's just continuing the cycle of trial and error. Like you go to a health coach and you say, well, my doctor said there's nothing really wrong with me. He wants to give me some medication. I don't want to take it. What do you think? And they do the same thing. They listen to the cluster of symptoms, predict what the problem might be, maybe even run a lab to confirm that suspicion. And then they just are sort of dealing with that one issue instead of dealing with the whole person. And so, as you know, and you well know this, and any FDN listening to this knows, there's so many contributing factors to low thyroid output. And so it's a great example of why you have to fix everything. You really have to give people things to do based on maybe that lab plus some other labs. What's going on with their hormones? What's going on with their immune system? What's going on with digestion? What's going on with detoxification? Do they have any food sensitivities? Do they have any pathogens like bacteria overgrowth, funguses, viruses, and biofilms? And things? So and then what's in their environment? What kind of personal care products they use? What kind of household cleaning products they use? Are they being exposed to excessive environmental contaminants and exposures and things like that? So there's so many things that could be influencing that cluster of symptoms. Like it could be originating very, very far away from what you have predicted it is. And so it's that approach, it's that very broad approach that health coaches can use if they're trained to address the entire holistic lifestyle of that person. And that's how you fix everything and get away from specific diagnoses and treatment. So that's the mistake I see health coaches making. They get trapped. The reason they are trapped is because they're trying to make the customer happy. And we want to make the customer happy, but not just in the short run. Because guess what's going to happen? When the symptoms come back or when new symptoms appear, they're probably going to go to another health coach. They're going to say, well, that person helped me a little bit. And it's because you weren't disciplined enough to tell the person, well, that sounds like thyroid, but there's reasons, lots of reasons your thyroid could be dysfunctioning that could be very far removed from the actual endocrine or hormonal system. And again, it could be other hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system imbalances, all these different things in the environment contributing to that cluster of symptoms. And so we don't use a diagnosis like thyroid. We assess all the holistic lifestyle factors, all the epigenetic factors, and then address the person's entire world, if you will.
So what makes FDN unique in the health coaching industry? What sets FDN apart from all the other health coaches when it comes to breaking the cycle of trial and error?
Yeah, great question. Well, for one thing, that is the didactic part of our training. But didactic means that it includes a philosophy, it includes how you think, it includes your system of your base mentality. And so we're not just going to treat the test results. Our base mentality is not, oh, there's a disease and we're going to diagnose it and we're going to manage the symptoms and these kind of mentalities. We don't think like that at all. We are very holistic. One of the things is and you could hear this from other practitioners or teachers, the body's designed perfectly to heal itself. And so it's a matter of coaching up. How do you coach up the innate healing ability of the body? Again, we don't want to diagnose and treat a specific condition and treat that. That just keeps the person locked in the cycle of trial and error. And so it requires some discipline. And in our lessons, there's a lot of that discipline. You hear it repeated over and over again, how to think about the test results. And I noticed in a lot of health coaching programs, first of all, there's no testing. It's just positive psychology, behavioral work that is important. Neuro-linguistic programming can be important. There's sort of techniques you can use to get the person to follow a program. Like maybe a lot of health coaches might work for a doctor's office, and help that person be more dedicated or disciplined to taking their medication on time and things like that. But we are actually going after, the root cause, if possible. And even that term I've kind of given up on because it could be undetectable. It could be undetectable. There's not enough labs, or actually there's a lot of labs, but there's no one lab that's going to tell you what the real root cause is in thousands and thousands of cases you're going to come across. You're not going to find the root cause. It's too far removed from the symptoms that are showing up. So what you have to know how to do is have an effect upon it, even if you can't identify it. And that's where the holistic protocols come in. So I would say, to answer your question, the mentality, the way of thinking, the true health detective, using holistic and functional approaches to, what are the healing opportunities? What are the healing opportunities? And oh, by the way, I spent 10 years working in an office, working on thousands of people. I ran thousands of labs on thousands of people. So I bring that kind of experience to the course. Hardly any are taught by someone with that much experience in lab work. Not for the health coach. And then the protocols too. So our protocols are so holistic, they're so complete. The DRESS, or Dress for Health Success system, is very complete. It covers everything a person needs to do. Epigenetic, it's an epigenetic program. Again, it works on everything: the diet, the rest, the exercise, the stress reduction, the supplementation. So I think it's unique for all those reasons. Yep.
Absolutely. Tell everybody what epigenetics is for those people out there that have never heard of epigenetics before.
Well, there's genetics, and that's, the old expression. I'm not sure I'm in love with it, but it's like epigenetics loads the gun. So you have genes. You could have mutations in your genes. You could have propensities or proclivities for certain diseases to occur. Like my dad died of colon cancer, and his dad died of colon cancer. So I had myself tested, and I have the gene for colon cancer. So that's sort of the gun's loaded. Now, am I going to get colon cancer? Well, the genes represent an information system that might express in that way. There's information in there. And yet there's so many other information systems that the body receives, is exposed to, develops within the body, and all these other systems and information. So it's been, I follow this guy, Dr. Russell Jaffe. You could look him up. Mm-hmm. Great guy, brilliant man. research scientist, has his own lab, his own supplement company and stuff. He goes around the world lecturing to doctors. They get their CEU relicensing credits from this guy. He's the smart guy. And he says that only 8% of your problems are genetic. The other 92% are the epigenetic, the other information that your body's getting. So your body, there's information in the genes, in the cells, and it might express one way or another, depending on your genes. And you can inherit some pretty serious propensities, if you will. I don't know what the exact right word is, but trends. But it's the other information, the epigenetics or pre-genetics, or on top of your genetics. It's that information that your body's going to respond to. And it's the one thing we have control over. You can't change your genes. You can't pick who your parents were. So the thing you have control over are the epigenetic factors, which, again, I think our Dress for Health Success program completely envelops, because it's the diet, one of the most obvious epigenetic factors. We know now that the standard American diet kills people. That's a big factor, in gene expression, right? Rest. You can't be healthy if you don't sleep right. And I'm talking deep sleep. People think they need 7-8 hours of sleep. No, you need a few hours of really deep sleep. So you could tell me you slept 7 hours. How was that? Oh, I was turning over, dreaming a lot, getting up to pee, but they stayed in bed 7 hours and they think they were asleep. That's not quality sleep. So diet and rest. It's DRESS, diet, rest, exercise. You can't be healthy. Sitting is the new smoking. Even though I'm sitting right now, I should be standing. But I exercise. I was just out in the garden sweating, using a pickaxe to move some dirt, and I have my own gym in the house and stuff like that. Diet, rest, exercise. Now, stress reduction is huge, because there is good stress and there's bad stress. And it all has an epigenetic influence on how health is going to be expressed, how the intelligence within your cells is going to be expressed, is affected by these things: diet, rest, exercise, and stress, both good and bad. And of course, there are supplements, and I don't have my own brand, but I know a lot about them, and I know that you can take them to substitute for what's missing in food. Most food doesn't have the vitamins and minerals that you need. You can support certain systems like digestion or the immune system. You can stimulate using supplements like the immune system. Again, I like to take my zinc and my echinacea before I get on an airplane, for instance. Get exposed to some extra junk from other people. So that junk from other people would be a factor, and I can sort of counter that. So anyway, the idea of DRESS, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction supplements, covers it all. And so that's another thing about FDN, I think, is that, again, it's not just the information. Well, what diet? Well, teach me about sleep hygiene. You can get all the technical sort of rational stuff, but you got to have a way of thinking about it. And that's what's so dominant in FDN, and why, by the way, we have such an amazing community. Hello, Chip. It's why we have such an amazing community. I mean, FDNs are like, they're just a bunch of loving and kind and considerate and, they're all helper people. It's like going to church almost. Everyone's happy, bringing gluten-free cookies and sharing recipes and this and that, and it's a welcome, open arms kind of a thing. I'm blown away by the community. And so that's another thing I don't think you find anywhere, any other course, and not to mention the lab training, which we could talk about on another Facebook Live.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that FDNs are uniquely positioned to really help people break the cycle of trial and error. You've set it up in an all-encompassing package where people are going to learn everything they need to know to help their clients really break that cycle of trial and error. So what are a couple of takeaways you want people to have today? What kind of tips and tools do you want people to walk away with today, Reed?
Well, we've all heard the expression, stop chasing symptoms and look for the root cause. And that's a good ideal. You want to look for underlying causal factors, but you got to step way back and take a really wide, broad view. You can't, you got to get away from treating even a cluster of symptoms or thinking that that's the problem. So a lot of health coaches they become like a gut specialist. And just like I read off that list of, it's a very traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms that points the finger at thyroid. And you can't just stop there. You got to look at all the factors, the ones we know about, and you got to consider that there's ones we don't know about. That's why the mentality is so important. So that's really looking pretty far upstream in every single case. Another thing would be, like I can give lots of examples like that. Like you have people who are, it sounds like parasites. Oh, it sounds like parasites. And then they run a test, and they don't find any. Oh my God, now what do you do? So, well, we have the step-by-step process where you will try not to make those mistakes. Don't guess. I'll say that much. We do like our testing, and I could go on and on, but that's a good one. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't even give much weight to previous diagnosis. That's between the client and their doctor. You're not involved in that. You have no business. We give complete monopoly to physicians who are licensed to diagnose and treat specific things. And the farther away from that we stay, away from that. The idea of diagnosing and treating specifics, I think the better off we are, the broader approach we'll take, the more holistic we'll be. And you'll get a lot of happy clients, and they will refer people to you, and you can spend a lot less time on Facebook.
That's true.
And just be helping people instead. This marketing thing will kill you if that's all you're doing. You're losing customers, and because you should have a referral-based practice. If you're making people healthy and happy, they're gonna that's the way to get them to refer to you, so you can have a stress-free practice.
Absolutely.
Lots of income from your clients. You got to separate yourself from the rest of the pack by being able to charge really good rates, because you're going to do a really good job and earn every bit of it. So anyway, lots of things like that.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely talk about testing on another Health Coach Tip Tuesday, because I think it'll be very informational for people. But I really hope that you guys walk away with some great information today. I know I learned some things. Reed, do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Just spread the love. Just keep spreading the love. We're growing, and it's remarkable. I'm truly blessed and happy, and just want to help more people.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today for Health Coach Tip Tuesday. If you have any other questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. If you want to get the 3-step guide, type the word guide, and we are going to send you the FDN 3-step guide to getting real results for you and your clients. We will be here next week, same time, same place, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, Reed. It was great to talk to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.